What do you do? My answer, I'm a pastor, is generally followed by an awkward silence as the questioner searches for what to say next. Usually it's a polite, "Oh." Of course, pastor isn't the only occupation prone to such a response. Often we struggle with what to say to those who answer homemaker or caretaker, those whose doing entails spending their days caring for young children, aged parents, or family members, or those in between jobs, careers, or looking to get into the workforce. And questions about what we do aren't limited to our vocations. On Monday morning, we ask our coworkers, "What did you do over the weekend?" Or "What did you do on vacation?" How many of us have arrived home only to find ourselves greeted by the family dog, proudly carrying our freshly tuned favorite piece of clothing or shoes? And inevitably, we ask a question for which the answer and the evidence are obviously before us. What did you do? In my last devotional, we looked at Peter's sermon in Acts chapter 2, where he closed with the line in verse 36, "Therefore, let all Israel be assured of this. God has made this Jesus, whom you crucified, both Lord and Messiah." We pick up with the audience's response in verse 37. When the people heard this, they were cut to the heart and said to Peter and the other apostles, "Brothers, what shall we do?" What should we do? Despite the pervasive interest in our culture with doing, there is an equally strong counter trend in contemporary evangelical Christianity against doing. Christianity is often contrasted with other world religions and worldviews, with a pithy and true statement that it's not about what we do, it's about what Christ has done. And as far as it pertains to the issue of our salvation, that's true. We are justified, we're made righteous not by our doing, but by Christ's finished work on the cross on our behalf. However, it seems like we're not responding to a biblical doctrine, but to a caricature of it. On the one hand, we flee from anything that might seem like self-justification, anything that looks like an attempt to earn on our own what Christ has bought for us. On the other hand, we can take for granted that Christ has secured our salvation, apart from anything we might do, and it leads us to license. We indulge in sin and disobedience because we've concluded what we do doesn't matter. In either case, we're dealing with a corrupted version of Christianity, one that is primarily concerned with the cognitive, with what we believe, apart from how our lives are shaped by those beliefs. We divorce Christ's life and teaching from his death and his resurrection and claim that his death and resurrection are only the only important part. We wouldn't say as much, but what we do bears the truth of our belief. In his book, Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis provides us with a helpful corrective. He defines the kind of faith that saves as one that entails doing. Lewis says, to have faith in Christ means, of course, trying to do all that he says. There would be no sense in saying you trusted a person if you would not take his advice. Thus, if you've really handed yourself over to him, it must follow that you're trying to obey him, but trying in a new way, a less worried way, not doing these things in order to be saved, but because he has begun to save you already, not hoping to get to heaven as a reward for your actions, but inevitably wanting to act in a certain way because a first faint gleam of heaven is already inside you. The church in the book of Acts, as we're going to see over the next few weeks, was one eminently concerned with right doing as a result of right believing. Not, as Lewis says, in order to be saved, but as evidence that they were saved. My prayer for us is that we would do the same, and that the first faint gleam of heaven inside us would grow brighter by the day. Have a blessed week, church.